Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. Welcome CW Studios. Happy to have you here. Yes, you know, it is coming down from 90 degrees here over today, so it was just too darn hot earlier when I was trying to do it. The camera was just overheating, so we gave it an hour to let things cool down. RoboLizard, nice to see you, sir. So today we will be doing a live unboxing of the S.H.MonsterArts Gamera 1996 Sendai Decisive Battle version. So we're going to take a look at that. Same style that we've been doing with these live broadcasts. We're going to basically open up the box. We'll take a look at the figure. We'll look at the paint and everything, the sculpt. Then we'll look at the articulation of it a little bit. And since we don't have a variance comparison with this release, we're going to be just comparing it to the original 1996 Gamera release that was first released. So we'll take a look at both of those and cross-cut examine those and see which one you guys like better, which one I like better. Yeah, the box is pretty cool looking compared to the original box. The original box for the original release, I think, it's a windowed box, so it was a general release. This one was a web exclusive, so there's no window on it. So they have a little bit more styling that they can get away with over here with, you know, epic backgrounds, explosion effects, and whatnot. They can't really do that usually with the windowed boxes. They're pretty standard fare, actually, with the little claw slash that they like to do. But anything modern, I don't know if you guys know this, anything that's a modern release, like say a legendary Godzilla or new Toho movies, they tend to give those designs, those box designs, a little special flavor, little special design. But anything that's like past Toho releases, or in this case, it's not a Toho release, but just anything that's in the past, they kind of go with that claw rip design. That's just kind of their template that they use for that. RoboLizard, yeah. Before we get started, we're just kind of waiting around. We'll answer some questions before we get started. But let's try this out. Yeah, so RoboLizard, this stream is going to see if I get this one or 1999. I like the effects more for 96, though. You know, what's interesting is that the effects are the same. They're just, except for the damaged piece that's going to come with this one, they're the same effects. They're just painted a little differently is all. Bagonzilla95, welcome, and you say, I have the original release of this figure, but I can't believe the size of this Gamera beside Mother Legion. Yes, it is incredibly large, that Legion figure is. So, and I know that it's, most of the time when they're pictured together, it's on a little base, but it's still a huge figure. We're working on a specific interview with the folks that developed it over there. I'm working on it with them right now. We're going to do a special English interview about the figure and hopefully get some explanations that a little bit talk about the price, you know, why they do that for the United States and what goes into the figure and you know, the process of it and everything. So hopefully that can shed some light on the pricing for that. But even me with that figure, that I had sticker shock just like everybody else, because I anticipated that figure to be at least the minimum of $350 to around $425. And when I saw the 560, I was like, holy smokes. You have to be a real diehard Gamera fan to pick this guy up. So it'll be interesting to see who gets that. Colin, welcome, man. Hey, people, can't wait for this one since I missed out on the first release. Hey, man, welcome. And I think you're gonna like this one. I think the diehard Gamera fans out there have pointed out to me that there's some things about this release that aren't, you know, one to one with the original movie. But this is also a redeco at the same time, so it's not going to be. It's kind of like scene specific, is what they say when they do these kind of decisive battle variants. So it's emulating like what it would look like at nighttime versus what the actual suit color would look like. So it's like, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is that it looks like is if they painted the lighting effects from the city onto the figure, is how they're doing it. We'll just give it a couple more minutes and we'll get into it, guys. Any other questions about anything before we get started, guys? Just put them in the comments right there. We're going to give it like maybe three or four more minutes of questions, and then we'll get right into unboxing. I did ask the panel of guys today if we were going to be taking a look at this together, do a little commentating, but it looks like everybody's busy today, so I'm not going to be able to have them on board, but that's okay. We're here to see the figure, right? Robo-Lizard. Got the old box still, compare what we wait? Yeah, sure. You know what? It is packed up, but I got you. I have a neat way of pulling this up so we can see it in 3D, actually. So let me just get that pulled up really quick, and then we'll take a look at that. Let me just go to the Gamera page really quick that we got. And we'll add that to the shared screen here. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna have to go to P3D to do this. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna add the browser window here. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna make this full screen so you guys can see it. Okay, so yeah, so you guys were asking about the so this is the original box right here. So it was kind of like a big slash. You had some explosion kind of effect right there. not too much has changed, really. All right, we're gonna get this stream started right now. Just wanted to show the original box right there. And we'll do this since it's just me. You guys know it's me. So we're going to get rid of that there, and we're gonna get going. Last comments here before I get over there, because I won't be able to highlight comments once I'm over there at the work table. Yes, Robo Lizard. I jump on Gauss. I like the first film a lot. Yep. You know what? Next, if you look at the pattern right now, we went with 99, 96. So maybe next year we're gonna get some Gauss action in there with the re-release of the 95 Gamera. That's right, the whole 90s lineup right there. And then finally they can get into some Showa stuff, some Showa goodness, or maybe they'll go back to Rebirth. You know, they just re-released that in Japan on Broadcast Network, so maybe that's a time to kind of touch back on that and do some villains from that. Or maybe a redeco of the Gamera Rebirth figure. That sold very well, actually, in the States, so. Yeah, that was when they changed it up. Now Bandai Red logo's same for younger collectors, and the blue labels for the collectible community now, 15 and up. So that's why they changed that. Okie dokie, let's get right to it. So this is the box here. I'm going to zoom in for you guys. So there it is. I'm going to get behind that table right there and we'll take a look at that. All right. So here's the box. You've got your side view of that. Here's our back. And then we've got our sides. You have your top. And then your bottom. Now, when you guys eventually get this from the United States, we'll talk about that later too, by the way. But when you get that here, they'll have a Bandai logo that goes over this strip right here. So that's your warranty. If anything goes wrong with it, you can return that back to Bandai for certain reasons, not every reason out there. If you purchase from Amazon Big Bad Toy Store, those are no hassle returns, though, if you ever go those ways. All right, let's take a look at this guy. Let's open it up, and we'll get right to it. All right, so we've got some standard fare here. All right, we've got, here's your manual. So the manual's nice and, let's get this all stretched out for you guys. So here's the manual right here. You can view this manual digitally on my website. If you check that out under the newest Gamera page, Sendai 1996 version, you can see that there. It's double-sided, so it actually unfolds. It's a giant page. So when you unfold it out, it's going to look like that. So be sure to check that out. We might have to look at this a couple times just to refresh my memory when it comes to opening up the chest and everything, but everything looks pretty much familiar. It's been a while since I took out the old Gamera figure, so I'm going to keep this out just in case I need that. Oh yeah, the shirt. So you guys see the shirt right there. It says, "I'm not Bandai." And it's got one of my photos, and I'm going to be wearing this over there at SDCC, so and on the back side, we've got our branding right there. Anyways. Good notice right there. Good job. Okay, so let's get this open. Clamshell's nice and tight, pops right on and off. Wow, okay. So first things first, let's take out, Let's take out the figure first. So it's in there really good. You've got a little plastic piece right here that kind of protects it, the shape, and then you've got the plastic on the inside holding it together. So we're going to take this out. Easy peasy. So there's the figure. We'll take a really quick look at it, and then we're going to pull out everything else. So here's the figure. Right out of the box. Whew! Smells definitely like it just came out of the factory, that's for sure. It looks really good. I have the original right over here on my right. I'll bring that out into comparison later, but I kind of already can tell that I'm going to like this one a lot more simply because this has a matte coating on it, and the other one's a semi-gloss coating. But this, I don't know, I like the colors on this one already too, so we'll take a look more at this in a second. Let's get everything else out. Let's get it out on the table. We've got, inside here, we've got the Mega Beam effect right there. So we've got that. It's just a solid chunk of translucent plastic. Over on top, they've got it nicely folded up. We've got the two wings. Got the two wings here that are swappable, and then below that is the swappable tailpiece. I think this is more protected than even the original release. I think the original release didn't have this much extra plastic on it, but there's the tailpiece right there. So we'll put that in over on that side. And it had underneath it this other box right here, with a little small clamshell that went underneath it. This clamshell is just the base, the stand that it comes with, the damaged shell part, and then the stand part that goes with it as well. There's two stand pieces. There's a flight stand, and then there's a straight post stand, and that's for the beam effect. So this is your, it's kind of hard to see, but that's what it looks like right there. Just a straight piece of just a stand. It's interesting. It's not the articulated arm. It's just a straight post. Then you've got the piece for the flight mode. We've also got the base. This base, I think this base has been used at this point, recasted and reused. I don't know, at least it has to be almost 10 times by now throughout this entire line, but it still looks good, looks sharp, and I think they do a pretty good job at making them look different every time that they do it. So honestly, I'm a little bored with it. I'd rather them do something else if they're going to keep using these stands. As somebody who owns all these figures, having the same base and just different colors, it just doesn't do anything for me. And then we've got this guy right here. This is the shell that's broken. Let me flip that around. Maybe a little hard to see, but it's basically the same except for this little part right here. It's just damaged. Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit right there. So we'll get more into that in a bit. For those just joining, welcome. We're going to take a look at, like I said earlier, we're going to take a look at the paint of the figure, the sculpt first, and then we're going to get down into the articulation, and then we'll cap off the stream with some comparisons. So for now, I'm just going to pop these guys back in there. There's a method to their madness. Put this back in the box, and then we'll get right to the rest of the unboxing here. Anybody that wants to watch these streams later, I usually take the live stream down, but there will be an abridged version that's been edited. It's just going to be all to the straight points. You guys can watch that instead if you want to just check that out later, because the live stream, you know, it's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen, and we'll do that later. So anyways, I'm going to get in front of the camera, or in the back of the camera now, and from there, we are going to explore the figure up close. Maybe not that close. Got all these cables and wires down here. I have to be careful. All right. Let me get my light. So let's take a good look at these guys, at this whole set piece right here. This is just, it's not posed in any specific way right now. It's just out of the box. That's just kind of what it looks like. We have our accessories there. Let's start from over here. We'll take a good look. All right, so let's take a look at, before we get into the accessories, let's take a closer look at the figure itself. Should I get this or the 99 Gamera? You know what? It just depends on which version of Gamera you like. It's like saying if you like the 1954 Godzilla or the 1975 Godzilla. They're all, you know, different shapes and sizes, and, you know, whatever strikes your fancy, that's the one you should get. I say get them all, though, because why not? Don't you want to support your favorite kaiju? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of tinker with this really quick, get in a better pose. So far, I mean, the joint tolerance is pretty tight out of the box, despite being in this very, very hot place. So, but I am digging the light. I'm digging the matte paint, that is for sure. Yeah, the effects are pretty bright, and we'll compare them to the original effect pieces too. So let me bring the camera down, and we'll get a closer, I like to get a little bit of a below eye level look on this. Makes them look larger than life that way. Okie dokie. So here is the Gamera 1996 Sendai Decisive Battle version. And it looks so good. There it is. I was looking for a light really quick because I usually like to shine some light on the darker figures. I just didn't remember where I put it. I'm going to add this onto the top of the camera right here, and we'll have a nicer, there we go. Isn't that nicer? You can see a little bit better, a little bit brighter. Okay, so there's the figure. Let's take a look at its head first, okay? Everybody's going to ask, I know, how are the eyes? How are the eyes? So it's kind of hard for me to tell. I will take a better look later when I'm doing photography, but it looks like these are decals and not dot matrix. So there's your eyes, straight on. I know people care about that when you look at your straight on eyes. It looks pretty good, actually. It's not so bad. It looks like this eye pupil, if we want to get really technical, this side might be just a little bit higher than this side. But it's not so bad. You know, from either side, you know, it looks great. It's interesting because these are actually out more to the sides than the original release. The original release is full on straight looking forward right there. So I think this actually looks a lot better though. This looks more natural. So, but yeah, let's look at that head. Very sharp detail right there. Somebody had asked me at one point if the head was resculpted, and it is not resculpted. It is the exact same head. There's no differences there. There might have been just some trick shots with the promotional photos compared to the promotional photos of the original, or maybe the promotional photos of the original had changed. But I'm looking at both of those releases right now, and there's definitely no changes to the actual head itself. You know, paint-wise, on the inside of the mouth, the hinge joint where the tongue is right here, let me get this right here. So back in here, there's a hinged joint, and it's black on the inside of this, whereas the original, it is actually painted in there. So honestly, it's not that big of a deal to me. For consistency purposes, I can see how that can bother some people, but the tongue right there is on that hinged joint. It is not on a ball joint, so you will be able to, you know, lift that up and down actually holds its pose on it being on a hinge, but the more you use it, the looser that's going to get. So, but it does lift up and down. Inside of the mouth, it's just when it comes to the paint job, it's just kind of a flat paint on kind of job. There's no shading or anything. It's just one color. It looks like there's a little bit of highlight inside of it, but I prefer the original. The original had some dry brush effects inside on that right there. So the teeth look okay. They don't look bad. They are bigger teeth than most MonsterArts out there, so they look okay. They don't look too bad. Yeah, the hinge, it's definitely hinge. Let's look at the, so it closes nicely too. I like that. It can close very nicely right there. So, you know, get some nice, yeah, it looks good closed. Let's go down the front area right here. So, not a lot of paint differences here on the chest. It was kind of like that with the original, but I think that because it's a matte paint job, there's just less detail that you see all of a sudden. So, yeah, it looks all right. I think what I would prefer is if I took like some black wash and just kind of filled out, because there's actually a lot of detail here. They just kind of fall flat with that matte job right there. I mean, it's not even just that it's a matte. It's just that it's just painted one color. So I think a black wash right here, if you're into customizing this, if you hit this with a black wash, this is going to bring out a lot of those extra details that we're not really appreciating right now off the bat. Let's look at the arms. The arms, they look great. The nails, the blending on the nails is fantastic, especially for a modern release. I feel like most modern releases have a hard time with blending when it comes to the nails and the spikes, but this looks okay. It's not bad. It's not just, you know, one transitioning into another. There's a nice, decent fade right there. It's very minimal compared to the original, though. The original has a very, very deep shading on it. So, but I actually kind of prefer this more, honestly. I prefer this more. It makes it look more bone-like. All right, let's get to, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Let's get to the legs right here. So here's the legs. No differences really too much with the sculpt in terms of the legs and the chest and the torso area right there. The feet, you know, I can always appreciate with MonsterArts that they go the extra mile to actually texture the bottom of the feet. They're just not flat. The copyright info is, believe it or not, it's not on the figure itself. It's actually on the effect parts. You can't really see it. I'm going to bring it into the frame, but you can barely see it. The copyright info is on this piece right here, and it's just on the plastic. So it's not in, you can kind of see it right there. But this is made in China. It is not made in Vietnam. So this is coming from China, if anybody's curious where it's coming out of. We'll get more back into that in a second, though. Let's get back to the feet right here. The feet, shading looks phenomenal. Yeah, look at that. I like it. I like it a lot. I like that the nails are brighter on this release. The nails, the paint on the claws, the toes, it's a lot brighter, especially even on the tusks. The tusks, it's definitely brighter up there too. Let's look at the shell. Let's look at the back of the shell right here. So here's the shell. The shell is still a matte coat on it. It's still kind of a matte finish. A little bit maybe more reflective though. So I think there's a little bit of some semi-gloss added to it compared to the main body, but it's still mostly a matte paint job comparatively. We've got some shading that goes along these sides right here of the inside, you know, right there. It's very subtle, but I can appreciate that. Again, I think if you added some black wash onto the back of this, it's going to make a little bit more of these details pop. It's not a bad color. I'm going to turn this light down so you guys can see it a little bit better without massive reflection. But you see, it looks all right. It's serviceable. This is, compared to the original, this is a light olive green color, whereas the other one is more of a dark military bluish green kind of color. And I'll bring that out after we're done with the other parts. We'll take a look at that. So I know if you guys see these reflections right here, it's not a paint chip. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just like there's like a paint layer right here that's just reflective for some reason. So just reflecting off the light. It's not a paint chip though. So let's look at the tail. The tail, it looks great. I mean, it's a short tail. There's not much to really talk about. You know, it's got a lighter shade on the bottom, slightly darker on the top, ever so slightly, but mostly the same color. So yeah, let's just do a pan up and down with that, you guys. So I'll turn it on its side. Yeah, the tail stabilizer, right. That's the beauty about MonsterArts figures compared to humanoid stuff, right? You got that third appendage right there that just kind of helps with the stabilization. So, but yeah. So there's our Gamera 1996 Sendai Decisive Battle version. Overall, I'd say I am digging that paint right there. Let's go ahead and get into accessories. We're going to open this guy up at the very end of that. I'll show you guys what the inside of it looks like, and we'll talk about paint and everything in there. So let's just move on to accessories for now. So I brought this out a second ago. This is the flame part. So this flame part right here, you can use this on a stand piece. There's a small hole underneath the bottom of it right there. It comes with this part specifically. The original also came with this as well. So this whole setup, so you can plug this in down here, just goes in like that. You're gonna have to kind of twist it a little bit to get it in there. Don't bend it when you do it. And then you've got your fire piece right here, and you can just plug it in like so. I'm gonna do it right there so you guys can see it better. So it just goes in like that. You just push that down, you know, and then you've got that. It's kind of tall, actually. So you're going to have Gamera kind of looking up while he does it. So I'll back this up. So yeah, that's, I'm going to move the figure further back so you guys can get a better look. It's very nice that they made an accommodation right here for this flame effect so the tusk can sit just comfortably on the outside. But that's the accessory effect. Yeah, when I first set this up, I'm so used to it. When you have Godzilla figures holding this in their mouth, the beam is always kind of facing downward in a way, but this is going up, so it's a little different. Let's get this kind of turned around a little bit. You guys can see it from the front side. Very nicely lit, lights up too. You know, there's the front view of that. And then we'll get you the other side. Very cool. All right, so I'm gonna move the camera off to the side again. We'll just look at these beam effects one more time. Just get a nice close up of them all. Let me just pull that out. There we go. So I'm gonna bring this up so you guys can see this, and less my hands in the way. So here's the beam effect once again. I've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 9. I've got 9 lights on this right now, so it's lighting up quite a bit. I do like the transition. It's brighter towards the end, darker at the top right there. The original release was just kind of one solid color for the most part, so I can appreciate the transition right there. A little bit more lifelike. I'm going to add this on here for you guys so you guys can kind of see that. It doesn't take a lot of light to really light up. Yeah, you can get real creative with this. It's already lit up pretty well, though, from the studio lights around us. Let's take a look at the base piece there. So here's the base piece again. It's a very orangish yellow burn kind of color, whereas previous ones are more of a darker red or variants of red. So I can appreciate that this one's a lot different in coloration. Also easier to tell if you're somebody like me who owns all this stuff and you're like, which one goes where? Who does it go what? This is the one that you're going to want to use. So, yeah, not much else to say about this. If you've never had this beam effect base, cool. It's going to be something that is versatile. You can use this with any MonsterArts figure. You don't have to have this stand for this. You can actually use the arm that's articulated. You can use those arms with this as well. So you don't have to just have this. So if you want to use a Godzilla beam that comes with the previous release, or if you got some custom beams that fit that same slot, you can use this base with those as well, as long as they fit those. So now we've got the shell piece. I'm going to bring this up as close as I can. This isn't a macro lens, so I can't get as close as I'd like, but this is the damaged, that's the damaged piece right there. I mean, damaged parts are cool. They're just, depending on what the damage is, it's exciting or it's just kind of like, eh. I know this is accurate to the movie where this is where some damage took place. It is one of those things that's just kind of like, eh, to me, personally. It's neat to have. Because I have both Gameras, I'm probably going to leave this piece on, this version of it. But you can see some greens in there. They're just kind of dry brushed. So, and then there's a little ball joint on the inside of that. It doesn't move. It's just a ball joint. It's very, very tiny, and it's just on a peg that doesn't move. So it just pops on and pops off. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, so I'm looking at the comments really quick. Looks nice with the bright colors. Yeah, with the red light behind it. You know what? We'll go back to that in a minute. Let's just finish this guy up, and we'll try that out with a red light. So this figure right here, it just pops off. Let me just angle this a little bit better for you guys. Okay, so this piece, I mean, just bringing it over here, it actually popped off. But like I said, there's this part right here, and it just comes off. And this is what Gamera looks like without it. This is only on this figure too. I believe that the 95 Gamera, they made the shell all one piece. So it's only this 96 figure where they have this piece. And this is like this on the original too. This piece is a floating piece. Maybe they had envisioned this back in the day, who knows. So, but it just goes on like so. So you just take it like this. The top part is this part right here. The bottom part is the bottom part is this pointed part right here. And then the top part is this part right over here. So you just pop that on like so. Just line that up. Popped on very easily. Made a nice click sound. So there it is. There's Gamera with some battle damage. I like to have that mouth just a little open. There we go. Yeah, so a little battle damage right there, just a little bit. So, and the Robo Lizard writes, and it's like an action scene. I think in the middle of the movie, not like it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's part of that right there. Yeah, part of that scene. So it's neat to have. Like I said, it's neat to have if you're into these kind of smaller details. It's really cool. I'm gonna leave this piece on. We're going to open. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna open it up. This part. I'm not gonna lie. This part gives me a lot of anxiety. Because you never I'm a guy that likes to have things posed in a certain way, so I don't like it messy. So when I'm putting this back together, I'm very particular about this part right here. So let's just kind of angle it back as much as we can, get you guys a better look. Okay, so when you're opening this, let me just look at the instructions really quick. Okay. You know, a lot of the instructions, let's kind of review this together, everybody. So, you know, when you're opening up the chest, it's one of the big points is that these pieces are on ball joints and they're kind of like a hook shape. So you just need to be patient and careful when you're using this piece right here, because I guarantee you they're probably going to pop off while you're doing this and trying to figure it out for the first time. It's not a system where it opens up the widest. So I know when you're doing it, you're probably going to go, I should open it up a lot wider than this. What's going on? It doesn't. I mean, I guess it's accurate to the movie and how it works. So, but we'll try to do this as clean as we can. Let's try it out. So, what I like to do is, let's pull down this bottom piece first. Oh, see, that's what I was talking about. It's going to fall out as soon as you do that. And that's my fault because I went too far. The maximum range, like I wanted it to go further down, but that's as far as it goes right there. It will not go further down that. It will pop off. So that's as far as it goes. So we're going to open this very carefully. I'm going to try to do this very carefully and succinctly. The idea is that you have to kind of like move it so it pops over. And you want to move these arms. There's a joint, the socket that floats right there. You kind of want to push that back in so you have a little bit more room to move and open these up a little bit. So, but that's as far as this opens, just like that. And same thing with this side. You want to open that, be careful. And you can see it on the inside right there. I mean, that's as far as that opening is going to go. So, like I said, you're going to want it to go a lot further than that, but I promise you, according to the instructions, like that's as far as that these are going to open before they pop off. So, and then you have these guys down here on the sides. These are a little bit more flexible, so you can get these guys open a little bit more on the side. So you can just pull those down like that. If I can get my thumb around it. So you can move it around a little bit. Like I said, it's just, you just have to be patient with this. If you just go nuts with it right away, you're going to have pieces flying off. This piece will not fly off though. This is on a hinge, so you don't have to worry about that. It goes all the way up to the top. Same thing with these guys. These are on hinges as well. So, but this is kind of how you open it in the order. And then you pull this piece down. You can just sit it like that. So this is the inside, and you can move it around, just angle it a little bit more. I don't get too crazy with the angles because then it gets confusing to start putting stuff back together. So, but that's it. That's what it looks like opened up. And let me just confirm that. Yes, so that's what it looks like when it's opened up fully right there. Like I said, when you do this, part of you is going to want to open it all the way up, but that's just not how this system works. So it opens up like that. But that's the inside of it. Compared to the original, there was no, I don't think there was any light reflected paint on the inside. It was just the center. So this has got an emulated light effect on the inside. This piece, I believe it's still translucent and painted over. So if you were to disassemble it, I think you can put a light on the inside of this and it will actually light up on the inside. But that's the inner piece right there. I mean, it looks really cool. It looks really cool. Actually, it looks better on camera than it does in person. Because when I'm looking at it in person, it's like, oh yeah, that blending is really, really hot. You know, it's really short where it blends in with the skin right here on the sides like that. But I don't know, camera looks pretty good though. And you can always appreciate that. Look at that, it's still textured on the inside. Yeah, it's still textured on the inside of those. Some companies would just texture the outside only and just not bother with the inside. So yeah, that's the inside of it. I'm going to close this up. There is no effect piece that goes with this part right here. And so you just have to use your imagination or digital effects to do that. Now for the fun part, closing this back up. Okay, let's try this very carefully because I am very particular in how I do this. So I like to have these parts touch like that. And then we're going to bring this part down. Bring that back in there. It's just a little bit, I see what I'm talking about? This is what I don't like, is when you're putting this back now, this piece down there is a lot, it's just like sunken in a little bit. So I get out these little tweezers like this and I can do this a little bit more effectively. Yeah. And then closing this up, you close the sides. These can always move around when everything else is closed. And then just kind of lift that up over the shape right there. Lift that up over the shape like that. Honest to God, guys, that was probably the easiest time I've ever put this back together and closed it up. Oh, honestly, I was really dreading doing this piece, but live. But okay, it worked, and it's fine. It looks good. It looks good. There's a little bit of a crack right there. You can adjust that with your thumb to close it up the best you can. It's just not going to be perfect. If you push it, all these parts in there, it just makes everything look gross. So that's just kind of how you have to deal with that. So anyways, we're going to move on to the part where we're adding the wings onto it. So let's take a look at that. Just a refresher. Let's look at this together. Move this out of the way. So when we're using the wings and the arms right here, the hands, it says that we just have to pull out very carefully. We have to pull out the arms, and looks like we need to just pull up on the base of the figure, and it should just pop off the torso area. Mind you guys, it's pieces from the chest might fall off when you do this part. Just depends on where you're holding the figure. And then when you get those pieces off, you can add the wings, and we'll put that on there, and we'll get it on its flight stand, which is back here. So that'll be the next steps right there. So let's go ahead and, I want to keep this out just in case because I'm going to need a refresher on this. I'm going to back this out so we have lots of viewing space here. Okay. Let's try this out. So it recommends taking off the arms first. That was very easy to do. That was also very easy to do. Very effortless. And then I have to try to remember. It's been a while since I've done this, but I believe you just pull on it. Yep, just like that. You pull it apart. It's going to sound scary. You pull up and out. Pull up and out. Up, up, and out. That's how you guys do that. So there's the base of the figure right there. Let's just look at this really quick. On the inside of it, you can see right there, I don't have a light that I can just stick in there very easily. I'm just kind of curious to see if it's actually translucent. Let's fire this light underneath it. I don't know if it's going to light up or not. Yeah, it's a bit too hard to tell. I don't have a proper light that I can just stick up there that's kind of small. So I'll have to do some photography with that later. But I believe you can stick a light behind that and it will light up. So if you're a really creative person and you want to add some LEDs to this, it should be rather simple to do. The inside of the circle is actually hollow underneath that. So you can stick a nice LED inside there. Try that out with the setup. So we're going to move the legs. I like this. When you take this off, that's what I do like about this, is that you don't need this whole bottom piece anymore. You can just put this off to the side and move on to the next piece right here, which is just putting on the arms and everything. So let's go ahead and do that. So this goes on just like so. It just plugs in just like that. And it plugs in right here. Just like that. I think that's in, yeah. So what I like about this release compared to the other ones when they have flight modes, so for anybody that's curious, Gamera 3, the Gamera 3 figure, the 1999 figure, when you put these wings on, they are just on. There's no articulation or movement or anything, but I can appreciate that with this figure, there's a little bit of extra movement that you can get. Not a lot, just a little bit. So you can angle it. So I can appreciate that with the 1996 Gamera figure. With the 1999, you can't. There's no way to really move it, honestly. So, but there's some wiggle room with this one, and that's why the cuts on this are bigger by comparison. So, and then the bottom piece, you got 3 parts right here. Match those up with the bottom of that, and it just snaps on, just like that. Or should, unless I'm doing it wrong. I tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these guys up a little bit because I think these are blocking it. Because I think these need to go under it. I don't feel like it's connecting all the way. Yes. I think these pieces are in the way though. Maybe they were supposed to be down. Let me try that. Put them back down. I think it does have to be down. Okay, don't make sure, so make sure these pieces are down all the way when you put this part on. Don't do it when it's up. I need more leverage, so I'm going to do this off camera really quick. Yeah, so when you put it on from the back end like this. So you put the tail down first inside of it, and then you line that up right there. You just have to line up those holes, and then you should be able to push it together, and it'll stay in. I just figured it out a second ago. Put it in like that, and then you push it down. I think it's just the angle. I have to do it over. I need to do it off camera because I have to have some leverage doing it. Yeah, you just need leverage. I can't do it holding it straight like this. I have to be pushing it, from above. So, but that's how you get that on. So you just stick it from the bottom and then just kind of seat it in there. Use both your thumbs and then really push really hard on that. And then make sure that these middle pieces right here are pushed below it. Make sure they're not sticking above this part right here. All right. And then we've got our stand piece right here. So we got our stand piece, and let me just plug that in really quick. So you just take that, plug it in right here. When you do this, just always do it from the stand part. Don't do it from up here. You'll break that piece off. So and then just kind of twist it when you go in there. And then you should be able to just stick it on just like so. It goes right over the little engine parts where the base of the stand is right there. And then there's your flight mode. Let me move these pieces out of the way. All right. Yep, so there's your flight mode right there. Let's get the lower angle. So that is your flight mode Gamera right there. The tail on this part, it does not articulate. It's just a static piece. So you can only just move the wings. That's it. So yeah. So that's flight mode. I'll just take this off one more time, just to show you guys what that looks like from underneath. So it's just one solid piece right here. There's no articulation. When it comes to the paint, it's slightly different right here compared to this paint job right up here. It's a little bit brighter versus this one right here, and a little bit more shiny, a lot more shiny actually than this part right here. So unless you've got light shining on it, but I don't know if you can see it on camera that well, but it's definitely shinier on this part than it is over here. So, but yeah, that's our flight mode. Looks good. All right, so we're going to take that off. We're going to put this back into its normal form, and what we're going to do is look at articulation, and we will go ahead and go straight into a comparison with the original release and wrap up the stream from there. These make a nice snapping sound, so you don't have to worry about it not connecting all the way. You'll know. Same thing with that. Just snaps right on like that. Beautiful, easy peasy. All right, there's a time to be a perfectionist, and now is. Oh, I can't help it. I gotta fix that just a little bit. I don't like that. It gets pushed in. Nah, fine, whatever. Anyways, so let's talk about the articulation. Let me bring this up a little bit more. Okay. So, first things first, let's talk about top of the head of the articulation. You've got your up and down movement. Very easy to do. I'm just doing this with one finger and it's not falling off. You can move that, in a 3, good roll of that. You can even twist this head all the way around if you really wanted to. Look at that. But it moves around quite a bit. As far as your down articulation goes, you know what? You know me, before I even start getting into articulation, I like to heat up my figure. So again, if you guys do this at home, make sure you use a hairdryer. Don't use a heat gun. I use a heat gun because I don't have time to wait, and I know the limitations of that. So only do this if you know what you're doing. Okay. So let's get into that. And the reason why we heat our figures before that, it loosens those tight joints. It's been sitting at, the paint is fresh on this when it was out of the factory and it was needed to cool and stuff. Sometimes things get stuck. Heating this up will loosen those things up and you can get more articulation than you bargained for. So, but yeah, there's our head looking down. That's pretty much it. That's as far as it looks down. Almost straight to the ground. Pretty close. Looking up, you know, we can go pretty much up to there. And you can always move this neck part if it looks a little ugly because you got a gap right there. You can move this up if you wanted to. So you can move that up, cover that up. As far as the hinge jaw goes, let's get a zoomed in look on that. So as far as the jaw goes, you know, it's on a hinge. It goes fairly wide. You can go all the way down like that. Tongue, I showed this earlier. It is on a hinged joint, the same hinged joint. It's just on it. You can make this go up all the way to the roof of the mouth, all the way down. There's some nice texture detail that's down here too, still. So, but yeah, that tongue, it does move. Closes nicely. There's no open mouth. You know, you can close that just all the way. I like that. I like that a lot. As far as, you know, twisting the head, you can twist that. It's great. I like it. Definitely more movement in the head, you know, itself. The neck adds that extra little range right there. So when you can have it, you know, let's push that limit. You can, look at that. You can have him looking all the way off to the side like that. That's pretty cool. You know, for the next part, we're just gonna kind of put that up. But yeah, down here at the base, not so much. It can move. You just have to really get in there, but it can move. This part, it's not meant to move really. It's just a floating piece. You know, if you move the head back, it can give you that extra movement. Whereas if it was the other figures that just the shell was on there, you wouldn't be able to move that neck up there. So, so I guess it kind of has a somewhat of a function. It can move around a little bit on the backside, but it's not intended to be like, oh, I'm going to move it this way and that way. It's just a floating piece that accommodates the head movement, the neck movement right there. As far as the arm articulation goes, we're going to zoom out for this right here. As far as arm articulation goes, this would probably pop out very easily based off of how easy it was to pop out. So I'm just going to kind of hold that up there. But as far as that goes, you know, you can get that pretty much so that he's almost touching the chest. That's pretty good, actually. I'd say that there's more movement in this figure's arm than the 1999 Gamera's arm. I remember I was struggling trying to get some dynamic poses out of that, but there's definitely a lot more movement, you know, with these arms. You've got that wrist movement. You've got, you know, 1, 2, so it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. So about, so 5 points of articulation here on the arm itself. So that's pretty cool. You can twist this, twist that around if you want. Gamera's just got some awkward arms in the first place, you know, but they do give a lot of extra room so that you can fiddle around with that. So you can, you know, you can twist that backwards, you can twist it forwards. The plastic is kind of like a softer, it's not super soft, it's just a softer plastic. So it's not so hard. It can flex a little bit depending on how you move these arms. Like this piece is a floating piece, but it's kind of being stretched a little bit depending on how I pose it. But yeah, both arms, you know, look at that. You can go up and down, back and forth. Surprise party look. Oh, that's as far as you go on that right there. That was my fault. So, oh, I gotta do it from above. Let's see if I can get that with doing it on camera. Make that go right there. And just stick that back on. There it is. So that's the arm articulation right there. There is no torso articulation in this figure. It's just a solid shell, so no torso articulation. All of your bending motion is going to come from the waist area and the neck area right there. If you're going to have it bend over, so you can have it bend over like this. Let me just zoom out. So you can, you know, have it bend over like that if you want, and you can get that extra down articulation like that. And, just going back to the legs, legs move nicely. They've got a floating socket piece right here that kind of covers up that, so you can get that extra movement. You can twist this all the way around. I'm not going to, but you can. The knees are pretty stiff out of the box. That's pretty stiff. You're going to probably want to heat treat this part right here. That's really stuck, so I'm going to heat treat that later. Legs, feet, you can twist that around. There's some movement there, though, at the ankles. This one's definitely more open. Let me see if I can get that open. Get this to release a little bit. Hold on a second. All right, let's try this. Let's loosen this up. Just my luck, what's going to happen is it's going to pop off after I loosen this up. Yeah, this is incredibly stiff still. I'm probably going to have to do this later. I'm going to have to disassemble this and see what's going on, but this knee is solid. It's not bending at all. It's supposed to bend like this one right here. So, but yeah, so there's that. This is a nice floating piece that goes in the middle right there. You get that movement. Can go in and out. When it kicks up, you can have it kick up. Not too high. I mean, that's as high as it goes. And then down here at the bottom, not too much of an ankle bend because of the way that these feet are designed. But it can bend over quite a bit, though. I'll give you that. Like, you can have this almost like that. So that's pretty cool. But not too much with the barely much of an ankle bend right here in the ankles. Like, you've got that. Yeah, the articulation, this doesn't give a lot of room to do that on the sides. As far as the tail articulation goes, you've got, let's see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you get 7 points of articulation on this guy right here on the tail. So it's not a lot. It gets the job done for what it is. I think out of all the Gamera tails, I think this one's the best tail. Yeah. Oop, I went too far. Yeah, so, but this is the better tail out of those releases. I think the 95 tail is just as good, actually. But that's the 96 tail right there. It can go up and down. You've got some, it's nicely cut out right there, so you can, bend it down. Let's see how far we can get that to go downwards. That's actually pretty good. Look at that. Wow. Jeez. So you have a lot of extra, like, it looks ugly. It looks ugly right there. But if you ever wanted to do this kind of a pose with your Gamera figure, you can do that with the 96 Gamera. Dang. Oh, you know what? The chat froze. I was looking at the chat, and it's like, nobody's saying anything. It froze on my end for some reason. So sorry guys, I'm just catching up with the chat. For some reason, it wasn't updating on my phone. Right, yeah, came loose from the damage. Hey Tass, so Shin Godzilla 2014 writes, "Hey Tass, I'm thinking of getting a S.H.MonsterArts Gamera figure in the future and want to know, are they good?" Good is subjective, right? What I may not like about the figure, you may like about the figure. That was my fault, by the way. So I think if you're a Gamera fan, these are definitely worth picking up. If you really like Gamera, definitely go for one of these guys. If I had to recommend any specific one, I would say the 96 is always a safe bet. The 95 figure is extremely hard to get because that one was not brought to the United States originally, so you have to search online for that figure if you want it. If you like the 99 figure, the first one, avoid that one. Do not get the first release. The Kyoto version is significantly better than that one, especially since they took the extra time to resculpt the head of that figure. So definitely pick that one up. I think it's still available today. If you wanted to go find that, it's still available at MSRP. But that one is definitely the better buy. Don't buy that one. The Rebirth figure, I think, is the most solid figure out of all the Gamera. So if you can get that version of it, if you liked that version, it is the most solid version of it. So grab that one if you want. So, but that's the articulation for this guy. Pretty straightforward. Not too much else to talk about. So let's get into comparisons with the original release. So I'm going to bring that out here right now. Here is the original on the left, and we have the Decisive Battle on the right. You can instantly see how much a matte paint job can be different from a semi-gloss paint job. So you can see the difference, like I said earlier, a semi-gloss paint job versus, sorry, I said that wrong. Let me start over. I'm recording this locally on my camera. My camera said stop recording, so I need to hit the record button again. So I'm going to restart this for everybody here for our bridged cut. So here's the two figures right here. We have the Sendai Decisive Battle version, and then we have the OG release right here on the left. You can see the difference. You've got matte paint job finish, semi-gloss paint finish, and it's like super reflective basically with lights, not reflective. Brings out a lot of details right there. So, but let's get into the... Yes, the nails are significantly brighter on the new one. The old one, the shading it's a lot. There's a lot of shading on the original right there. So we'll start with the eyes though. Let's compare the eyes, the head of the original and the new one. And I'll get some close-ups of that. So the eyes of the original, the pupil is just slightly bigger. It's slightly bigger. And it's also a different color, but it's also facing completely straight forward on the original figure. On the new one, it's slightly out. It's not all the way forward, but it's slightly off to the side. And I think this is, you know, a good example of why I don't think straight-on eyes work for all these figures. I mean, you can disagree with me if you like. I mean, some people really like it when they're looking straight on, but there's just something about just having it slightly off. I think it just looks more realistic. And I'll show you guys again. And we'll bring that one back in the shot again. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, on the inside of the mouth of this one, the hinge jaw is painted, whereas the new one, it's not painted. It's just a black piece. If that bothers you, I mean, try not to let it. I mean, it's a figure, right? You're never ever going to see that piece, really, honestly. But it isn't, if you're a stickler for that kind of stuff. The blending on the inside of the mouth in the original is a lot better, in my opinion, especially on the sides. I'm going to point out with the tweezers here, especially right here. The blending into the figure looks a lot cleaner, more natural, whereas this new one, you know, the blending it's just not there. It's like a hard stop. The paint just stops right there. You wouldn't notice it unless you had both of them, though. So, interestingly enough, when it comes to the overall body paint of these two figures, though, there's not a whole lot going on when it comes to different kind of shading for this Gamera right here. But this one, the OG, has a lot of different shades of browns and olive green colors throughout the whole entire body. It's just that it doesn't show up on camera as well because of the reflection. But you can see kind of what I'm saying, like especially, let me just point it right here. So especially like right here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's like that brown color, that olive brown color, and then it kind of goes in that. And it's also on the back of the neck right here as well. So even on the shell, when you compare the shells of these guys right here. So I actually think I like the shell better on this new release right here. So, and I'll show you why. This one, there's not really any shading on this at all. If it looks like shading, it's just shadow from the lights. There's barely any shading on this. It's just one all solid color, except for the top of it. The top of it is got this olive brown kind of shading, and it's very inconsistent with the rest of it. This is the original release right here. On the new release, on the new release, you do have some shading that kind of goes down the middle of these spine section parts right there, and it's consistent at the top. It's consistently done at the top. So I appreciate that with that as well. So, let me zoom out and you guys can get a better look. So, but it just depends on what you like. If you like that darkish blue color, it's like a dark bluish green on the OG, and it's like the olive color, the olive brown, greenish color. I mean, even on the tails too. Like if you look at the tail paint, I think that's the idea, is that I'm not a Gamera expert, so I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you which one is the more accurate paint job off the top of my head. If I had to pick one, I like this one's better. It's more of a bluish kind of color, a bluish grayish kind of color, whereas this one's more of a brownish kind of coloration. I don't know. I just kind of like this one a lot better. So let's look at the tusks right over here too, the tusks. So I'm going to show you guys the tusk on the OG first. So there's a lot of shading that goes right there. It's very deep. It looks really good. Really good on that tusk. And then on the new one, significantly less shading on that. Let me move this out of the way. Yeah, there's significantly less. Come on, focus. There we go. Significantly less shading on that. It looks good still in its own right. It still looks good. It's just that it's just not as deep. It's still got some blending there. It just blends a little shorter. But it doesn't look bad, in my opinion. I think it looks fine. Again, it's about your preference, right? So if you prefer more of the original colors, the original you can still get out there for a pretty decent price these days, I think. But for the new one, let's look at the elbows really quick. So the elbows, I actually prefer the elbow paint on this one, at least the shading part of it. I wish it was a little bit brighter on the tip, but I prefer that shading because when we look at the new one right here, it's not a lot. It's very minimal. And let's look at the other side too. The other sides, there's a little bit more. Yeah, definitely a lot more on that side. Oh, and that was the other thing. I don't think I mentioned this about the eye color. So the eyes of the original, they're a green, a dark green coloration right there. And then the eyes for the new one are a light blue. So I believe that a lot of Gamera fans out there have pointed out that Gamera's eyes are more of like the original release's colors throughout the movie, not this bright blue. So that is not an accurate coloration, but I think that's just kind of what they do when they do their redecos for this kind of stuff. So, if you're wanting a definitive version of this figure, colors wise, it's probably going to be the OG. It's probably going to be the OG. Beyond that, it's preference, because this is scene specific. I don't know about the eyes being scene specific, but the rest of this paint job on this figure is scene specific. Let's look at the nails on the hands right there. So yeah, the claws on the hands, this is of the OG again. See, I don't like that about the OG. See, this one's just completely shaded. But this one, by comparison, it's like no shading, barely any shading. So, and that could vary between figure to figure. Like another figure of this might have more shading on it. Just this version of it that I have just doesn't have that much on this side compared to, the opposite side. This one on the original has way too much on this side, and it's not so bad on this side. But yeah, let's look at the nails again. Sorry, got distracted. So they're okay. On the original, they're not bad. I think that the brighter transition looks better on this guy right here, though, because it's still got that dark shading right there. And I think it transitions just nicely. Yeah, I like that on this new one. It's not bad, though, on the original. It's still not bad. It's still not bad. It's definitely a lot darker on the original. All right, let's look at the chest, the torso area. So I'm going to bring up these arms. So on the torso right here, as I mentioned before, there's no shading. It's just one flat color. This is the original. It's just a flat color. Nothing there on the original. And even on the new one, it's just not a glossy paint job on the new one. That's all. Let me bring these up a little bit. So there's the original, and there's that one. They actually are, they're very close to being the same color. This one right here is more of a green, and this one's more of a darker olive brown. But they're fairly similar. The reflection just makes this one look a little different, but this one's mostly the same right there. Let's look at the feet. So here's the feet of the original. It's not bad. It's not bad. There is some highlights throughout the leg, though, where you get some browns over the darker greenish gray colors. And then on the on the new one, you know, it's just a brighter transition. It's not bad, though. It's just like the upper claw area. There's a little bit more of a bluish tinge, a bluish tint throughout. There is some shading on the legs. It's just more of that bluish style instead of the olive green color. But there is some shading effects, some weathering effects throughout the knees and in the crevices right there. It's not bad. And then again with the tail, we'll do that side by side here. So the OG tail compared to the new tail. Sorry, I've got cats in here and they get everywhere. So, yeah. Just a matter of preference. I don't think either figure looks dramatically terrible compared to the other ones. There's just differences, like some parts of one figure look better than the other and vice versa. Let's look at the inner shell. Let's do this again. I'm going to open up the new one again. So, oops, I didn't have that in all the way. Okay, so I'm going to angle this upward so that we can get that there. And let's open this up here. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. So you open it up on the sides. Remember, you might have to move these out of the way a little bit so that you can get that space open. So open that, pull down this piece right here, this out, and then bring this out. Man. Bring that out. Bring that down. Bring that down. Goodness. If I was in charge of designing this figure, I wouldn't even have this open up like this, honestly. I would just have it as a swappable piece. This is just, I'm not super patient with this myself, so. Anyways. So there's that. Let me just zoom out for this. And then let's do the old one right here, and you guys can see the differences. Remember, you have to kind of pull it up and over. Bring this down. Bring this down right here. That down right here. Oh, it's such a process. I just popped that off. I'm going to leave that off of this one. I don't feel like putting it back on. So, and then here's the original. And now I'm realizing that this is kind of awkward on this one. So here's the, let's look at the original right now. So the original, there's no light effect painted on it. It's just the piece on the inside. And some people like that. I think back in the day when this came out, people were kind of complaining that there was no lighting effect on it. That was just kind of there. But I think it's fine if you want a non-lit up version of it. And you can still, like I said, you can put an LED on the inside of this, open it up, and it will light up. It's translucent on the inside of it. And then with the new one, let me see if I can get this to transition better. I think I have the arms opened up too much. Sorry, I'm doing this off of camera so it could just be a little bit more efficient in how we open it up. Okay. And then we have, so here's the new one right here. So, you know, which one do you guys like? Do you like the one without the light lit up, or do you like it with the light lit up? You know, originally I was siding with this one, but I actually do like the one that's lit up more. So I'm a fan of this. Call me a fan of the new one. All right, let's back that up. Okay. So that is pretty much it for the paint on those right there. I'm going to switch these into flight mode, and we'll compare those as well. We're getting near the end of the stream. So let me close these guys back up. And we'll go ahead and, oop, I gotta put that down. Put that off to the side, and we're gonna plug these. We're gonna compare flight modes right now. So I'm gonna put this guy on. So here's our flight mode of that. Oop, got the arms. It plugs in like that. Plugs in like that. And then we'll go ahead and put that on like that. So there's that one. Let me get this closed up here and pull this apart. I'm gonna do this off camera. Yeah, it wasn't just me. The original one, the chest pieces are definitely significantly a lot looser. Let me just get this closed up. The original is not as easy to transition, to have it pop off. Give me a second, guys. Man, I haven't taken this piece off since I first got it, and it was stuck. It was really stuck on there. Okay. Okay, and then we'll pull off the arms here. All right, so let's compare. So before I put these guys together here to compare them, let's just look at the bases really quick. So the base of the original compared to the new one. So the original, like I said, it is a darker red coloration. Yeah, right? ASMR time. So yeah, so here's the colors. You've got these two. You can see just kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, like this is just, it's not one solid color, but it's mostly one solid color. And this one's got a lot of transitional oranges and reds in there, but it's definitely a lot more of a yellowish orange color. Bring Legion here, yeah. I am working on a special interview with Legion, though, and its designers. So we'll see if we can get that to come out before SDCC. If not, maybe at SDCC, we'll talk more about Legion and do proper comparisons. So, but there's those pieces. Let's compare the heat blast effect as well. So here's the heat blast effect. We've got the original here. Ooh, I'm gonna have to point the camera up a little bit more for this. So we've got the original here on the left, and then you have the new one on the right. So if you have both of these figures, great. You've got some options to try out right here, whichever one that you can mix and match however you feel. You know, you got red or yellow, orangish color, so take your pick. Honestly, I kind of like this one still a lot better, though, because I just like the deeper reds. But this one's cool, too. I like the transition of a darker orange to a yellowish orange color at the top, so it's not bad. But having both is nice. So let's go ahead and get these in flight form mode, and you guys can check those out on their stands here. And there it is. They're not bad. You know, there's not much to really say. There's actually, so on the original, there's no shading on these arms at all. It's just one solid color. That's it. But on the new one, you have some shading on the top and the bottom. So it kind of has that little bit, gives it a little bit more flavor to your aesthetics right there. But yeah, on the original, no shading on those arms. And on the tail piece, you know, just one's brighter than the other. Again, those tails don't articulate. But yeah, here's the close-up of those arms. You see, you got that shading on the bottom and the top. That's the new one. And then we go to the old one right here. And there's just no shading on it at all. It's just one solid color. It's actually brighter than the shell too, so it just kind of looks weird. But that's the flight mode right there. So, but that's pretty much it, guys, with these two figures. I'm gonna do one last thing before we go. Yes, I like my turtle with some flavor. Yeah, I like to use the word flavor when I'm describing different aesthetics right there. It is a different flavor, right? Yeah, you either hate it or you don't like it. So, or you do like it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap up the stream now. We're going to compare these Gameras, the new Gamera with the other Gamera figures. So let me go grab those really quick. I'm going to reassemble this actually back into its normal form. I'll let you guys take a look at the older one. Feel free to ask questions while I'm doing this part. I'm going to put this back into its normal flight mode. Or the regular mode, not flight mode. Oh, a piece of it fell on the ground. So I think overall my thoughts are that I prefer the new one over the original. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going with this. All right, let's get this back in there. And what I'll do is I'll bring out the Rebirth Gamera figure, we'll bring out the 99 Gamera figure, the Kyoto version, and we'll bring out the 95 Gamera figure. And we'll take a good look at all of them. Okay. So here's the new one. Put that off to the side like that. Let me grab the 99 Kyoto. That's what we'll compare that with first. If you had to ask me which Gamera I liked based off of looks, take out articulation, engineering, and all that other good stuff. Just based on looks, I actually like the 99 Gamera the best. So this is the Kyoto 1999 Gamera compared to the 96. Let's get that headband down there. So, yeah, I remembered correctly. Like, this one's arm articulation just isn't the greatest because it's so close to the sculpt. But I just think it looks a lot better, though. It's just a more fierce Gamera character. So yeah, that's 1999 compared with 96 Sendai Gamera. Very shiny back on the original. I just like the shell too. It's just so much more edgy, more edgier. So yeah, as far as design goes, this is my favorite Gamera. And then let me go grab the 96. Yes, the 99 is a very sharp looking figure. If it is still available, if you guys are interested in picking that one up, the 99 Kyoto version is still available at MSRP. Not at a lot of retailers. It is on its way out. It's been on its way out for a while. I think there might be 2 or 3 left that still have it. Don't wait for a deal. I don't think it'll happen at these retailers. You know what? For the fun of it, we'll even bring out the original 1999. Who am I missing here? I have the 96. Okay, that was it. Oh no, Rebirth. Rebirth. What did I do with that guy? I did some rearranging, so I have to remember where I put them. Where did I put that Rebirth Gamera figure? I'll look for that one in a minute. This is, just so that we have them out, might as well. Here's the original 99 Gamera figure that was released. And just look at the, I mean, you can see the head difference already. I mean, I'll zoom in on that so you guys can see it. It's just like, I'll put it this way. Wakasa didn't sculpt this figure right here. He was brought in to sculpt this head for the 99 Kyoto. He was brought in just to sculpt that head. But he didn't sculpt this figure. He didn't sculpt the Gamera, the original Gamera 99 figure. Somebody else did. And that's why it looks the way it looks. But yeah, not that fierce looking comparatively. Also, the head's just a weird shape. It's more boxy in the nose area. This one's more slender, so. Also, the paint's just wildly different compared to, like, on the chest area right there. Like, look at that. Way better. Significantly better. Yeah, like I said, way better right here. Much better than this, what you see over here on that side. Even on the nail paint and everything, it's just very different. I think even on the back sides. So that's one thing I did like about this one, though. This was a matte finish, and this one was a semi-gloss finish. I prefer the matte over the semi-gloss. I'll take that any day. Yeah, Colin, definitely pick up the 99 figure. If you have not picked up a version of that, definitely get that one. It's just, the Kyoto is just significantly better in so many different ways. Okay, so now we're going to go back to, let's compare the elusive 95 Gamera figure to the new 96 Decisive Battle. So here is the 95 Gamera. It's got a significantly bigger... It's funny, as the Gamera trilogy went on, the head got smaller. Because the head is huge on this guy. Got a little stuff right there. Anyways, yeah, so the coloration of this Gamera actually matches this one. They actually look very nice together. So, and I believe this is correct. When you compare these two figures, when they did the 95 Gamera figure, the same body, legs, and even the arm parts right here, they are the same as this figure right here. It's the same mold. Even the feet, they're the same. So this is what it would look like if the chest wasn't articulated on this guy right here. It would just be shut like that, but it's the exact same mold. They just closed it up is all. The only thing that they added differently was the head. The head right here and the hands on this figure. Those are obviously brand new. I think, and the neck, obviously, the neck is different too. So brand new neck part, head part, the arm up to here, basically up to the elbow is, you know what, this part up to here is different too. But the socket part's a little bit different. They're the same. The legs are the same. Yeah, it's the same sculpt. But the shells, they're also the same. It's the same shell. Same shell. It's got the same floaty piece up here at the top. Same backside. But again, it's a matte finish, and it's got nice shading. Interesting, though, the shading is on the inside, and it's on the spiky part on this figure right over there. But it works both ways, honestly. Definitely a lighter green color. I suspect that when they do a Decisive Battle version of the 95 Gamera figure, that one, I'm going to guess, will look more of like the definitive Gamera. because I've looked at footage and everything with this figure, and I just feel like it doesn't look just like it was in the movie. I feel like the green shell, I feel like this is too green. Yeah, the articulation, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. You know, the arms are smaller on this one right here. So, you know, I mean, it's just not that much different, even though it's a little bit thicker on these ones right here. I would say that you could probably get a little bit more range out of this one right here. I haven't moved in a long time, so it's really, really stiff. But I recall when I was moving it around in the very beginning, it was a lot, there was a little bit more movement in the arm area right here. But as far as the legs go, it's the same tail, same articulation. If you're getting this figure, it's mostly because it's aesthetics, right? So, but I'm hoping that when they do the Decisive Battle version, that it's going to look more like the nighttime scenes that you saw in the movie. I think there was nighttime scenes at least, but I just feel like it would benefit from that. This figure's also got its eyes looking straight forward at the front, so it's not bad. It's not bad. Let me go grab Rebirth. I think I remember where I put that. Tokyo Battle version. Yeah, you know, I can't confirm anything right now, but if you're paying attention to the pattern so far, I think that there's a very good chance that you're gonna see another Gamera figure down the line, as well as Gauss. So, not this year, maybe next year. We'll see what happens. And then the last comparison we'll do for the day is Rebirth. This is a giant chunk of plastic, guys. It is the heaviest of all the Gamera figures. This guy right here. Just wow. Like, if you want a Gamera figure that's done very, very well, it's this guy. This is the one that's definitely done the best. And then the 96 Gamera, I would rank that number 2. 95 would be number 3, tied with the new 99 Kyoto. And then last place would be the first 99. So, but it's huge. Yeah, it's pretty big. I just wasn't really impressed with articulation in the hands, and you know, it's very limited right here in the middle of the body and everything. But it's not a bad rep for the character. It's not a bad rep. I mean, it's just a very, very large figure. Look at that. Oh my god. It's huge. We'll zoom in. I'd like to see a redeco of this one, because I always felt of this guy right here. I'd like to see a redeco of this, because I feel like it's just not exactly like you saw it in the show. It looks good. I feel like it looks closer to like the promotional art than it did in the scenes that we saw the movie from, what we saw in the movie. But still, grab this figure if you can get it. It's mostly out of print at this point. I think there's only 2 places that carry it at retail still. So if you can nab this figure, don't wait on it much longer. Or the 99 Kyoto version. Definitely grab those 2. Okay, so you know what? We'll bring out one last guest for comparison purposes. One last figure. And it's like all the way on the top of everything, so I have to grab it from the top. All right, one last figure. And then we'll close everything off. So we'll bring Iris out. What? He wasn't gonna do that. He didn't say he was bringing out Iris. Look at that. What? What? Yeah, I brought out Iris. Even though, you know, they're not in the same movie, it's still fun to compare. Iris is kind of a unique figure. It's like not a huge figure, but it's got a lot of tentacles, so it makes it look a lot bigger than, you know, it should. But push those further away. There you go. Yeah, so Iris is still available. If you haven't pulled the trigger on him just yet, you will be able to get it probably on Black Friday for another decent discounts. They had some good deals last year for Iris. I think it was almost $200. This year I suspect that it might drop a little bit less. It is one of those figures that is kind of more niche, so only if retailers want to get it out, they're going to drop the price on that. Yeah, the price tag is up there for that. I mean, that's the thing. You got a lot of younger collectors online that post about the price being so much and everything, and I get that. These figures, they kind of go all out. You know, Iris had the wings and stuff like that, and these tentacle parts, and you know that's why it was already priced the way it was. But there's always a chance for the United States. You get a deal. You can get a deal on these guys if you just play the game. If you want it right away, you're going to have to pay, you know, MSRP. But if you're patient, you can get these guys on a really, really, really good deal. And Legion has been, believe it or not, selling really well, from what I heard. Especially in Japan, they actually closed pre-orders early because there just wasn't much left, you know, in the pre-order queue. So they just decided to cut it off. And we have it easier here in the United States when it comes to figures like Legion, because we can purchase that anytime after it's released, whereas in Japan, you had to order that within that deadline, and that's it. Aftermarket's already set, and if anybody in Japan wants to get it at this point, they're going to have to pay even more than MSRP now. So we get a little bit lucky on that right there. But even though, that said, it's not like there's going to be, you know, if you compare a standard Godzilla figure to Legion, you know, they're going to significantly bring more Godzilla over compared to Legion because of the size of the figure, the space it takes, you know, the popularity of the character. So I'll put it this way: when pre-orders are done in the U.S., they're allocated, and you know they have a certain amount of mine that they think is going to sell, and that's a good bet. So don't expect like thousands and thousands of units of Legion that they're just going to sit on the shelves. It's going to be limited here. So like most places might get 5 or 10 units in or something like that. So let's close it out, guys, with some questions. If anybody has any questions about anything. Oh yes, the tariffs. So we can take a moment to talk about that for a second. For anybody that is interested in understanding how this tariff situation works and how it affects Tamashii Nation's collectibles, at this time, the figures are currently on hold. Incoming product that hasn't been released just yet, solicitations, pre-orders, figures being shipped over, they are on hold right now because Tamashii Nation's, the way that they look at it, you know, the way that these things are priced, it just doesn't make any sense to sell these figures for even more to the consumer. So rather than bringing them over and selling them to you at an inflated price, they're just putting them on hold until there's a more clear indication of what is going on with the tariff situation. So, and for everybody else, just so everybody knows, tariffs are different from duties. A lot of people get these mixed up. So I'm going to break it down for you guys really quick. When you, as an individual, decide to import a figure yourself and not go through US distribution, so that means not ordering it stateside, you know, Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon. If you decide that you want to import it from a place like Hobby Link Japan, Ami, Hobby Search, Hobby Genki, Nin Game, any of those places that are in Japan that ship to the United States, starting May 2nd of this year, a couple days ago, they eliminated in the United States what's called de minimis. And what that means is any items or shipments that are valued less than $800 used to be duty free. So that means when we used to import these things, we didn't have to pay any taxes on it. No duty taxes, nothing. It just came over here, was processed through customs, and we got the figures. But now the U.S. government wants these couriers, U.S. Postal Service, FedEx, and Post Office and DHL. If a figure comes in and on the declarations it says that the country of origin of manufactured is in China, or Hong Kong, they have to open up and inspect the figures, and they have to evaluate if a duty fee for you. And what that duty fee is 120% of the declared value. So if they declare the value, what MSRP is, you're going to pay 120% of that fee right there being brought over to the United States. If you pay it in yen, it's going to be evaluated in yen, and you get that currency conversion bonus on top of it. But say you bought a figure from HLJ and you paid USD for that, they're going to put a declaration of it in USD, and you will have to pay 120% of that. So, let's just use basic math here. If you spend $100 on a figure, you're going to get charged 120%. So now you have to pay an extra $120 just to import your figure. So right now, in this moment, it's not probably in your best interest to import a figure yourself, not until we get more clarification on what's going on with tariffs and duty fees. At this given time, they are negotiating in Switzerland with China, and it's not going to hit the deal. They're just talking about de-escalation right now. They are rumoring that it's going to drop to 80%. But I feel like a lot of toy companies aren't going to jump on that still when it comes to shipping over product, because 80%, it's still pretty high to pass off to the consumer. So when we're talking about tariffs, though, it's a little bit different. Tariffs are 145% of the declared value of the items. We, as customers that buy from the United States, Big Bad Toy Store, Amazon, and stuff like that, it's going to be up to the retailer in how they distribute that tariff charge. So right now, Tamashii Nations is not importing any figures. No, figures are not coming in to port that are going to have tariffs on them. They're not coming in. So all existing product that's out there up to Dark Magician, you will not be getting charged tariffs. However, there are retailers out there that are spreading the cost of tariffs from other lines into their inventory. So places like Tokyo Taku Mode, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, even USA Gundam Store. If you go to those websites and you add these to your carts, you will see a tariff surcharge. That is not for these figures by themselves. It's because they're spreading the cost. They're padding it to their inventory to make it a little bit less. Instead of passing off 145% to you directly, they're going to try and make it so that, it's like 8% or 50% or something like that. So it's going to be a lot less. So, oops. So yeah, so that's the big difference. You have duties and you have tariffs. So the tariffs, they'll be absorbed somewhat with retailers. Maybe some retailers in the US will actually charge the whole amount. It just depends. Some of them are offsetting. I actually just read E-Night Media just posted that they will not be passing off the tariff charges to their customers at this time. So right now you can still get their figures without any tariff surcharges. They're absorbing 100% of the costs. And that's pretty big of them because they're very small. They're very small compared to somebody like Big Bad Toy Store, right? So they're doing this because they want you guys to enjoy the product. So big shout out to them. If you guys want to support their business, they're absorbing that just so that you guys can still get them at the MSRP costs. So if you're looking at that Legion figure and you do want to get it, and because you're just not certain if it's even going to be a good deal eventually, that would be a good time to get it, is through them. I think it's for a little over $498 or $500 right now. So, but like I said, you can wait. We don't know what's going to happen with this tariff situation. It could de-escalate to where it's 25% or something like that, and most retailers will absorb that cost anyways and not pass it on. And you'll be able to get that figure for Black Friday sales if everything works out. Yeah. And just a reminder, this is to Colin right over there, feeling bad for E-Night. A lot of the product that's in stock for Tamashii Nation stuff, at least MonsterArts wise, those figures don't have tariff charges anyways on them right now because they were already off the boat by the time that the 145% was implemented. So you don't have to worry about them losing money right now. And that's the next point I want to bring up to everybody, is that Bandai has halted Tamashii Nation's product when it comes to shipments. I think I mentioned this earlier, but they've halted product for incoming pre-orders and solicitation. So right now, this figure, Gamera figure right here, is not going to be. It's not confirmed yet, but it's likely that it's not going to be here by the end of May like it's scheduled to, because the tariffs were implemented for 145% at the beginning of April. This figure was released at the end of April. They're going to reevaluate at the end of May. So depending on what happens in the next 2 weeks, this figure, as well as Anguirus, is going to be possibly delayed. But everything else, it's still on schedule. Just depends on, when that's happening. So I'm going to move over here actually to Mr. Daniel Dickerson, since we're just wrapping up. Okay, give me 1 second here. I'm moving over to the computer area right here, but I'll leave the camera on. And we'll highlight some comments here, okay? So we've got Daniel here. He says, so this figure theoretically affect even incoming figures like 72 Ghidorah as well. That is, the situation remains somewhat similar to how, So how it is now, that is, yes. So, I mean, those figures come out so much later in the year. So it's not even really worth investing getting to start thinking about those figures and their prices. I'll put it this way. Japan is going to... let me start over. These figures are released in Japan. So because of that, the MSRP of these figures is not factoring the US cost. It is only factoring how much they want to charge the Japanese folks over there. We get it secondary after that. So their business operations is going to run like normal. They're going to price their figures just like normal over there. The MSRP that they come up with over there has no reflection of the tariffs that are being charged over here. It's just what it is in Japan. So if, the 1972 Ghidorah gets solicited and it's, 40,000 yen, that has nothing to do with the tariffs at all. It's just what they're charging based off of the work that they're putting into it to bring it to life, to bring it to the folks in Japan. When it gets solicited here in the United States, if and when that happens, say that the tariffs don't go down and they're just saying they're capping at 80%, that's just the way it is. That will be factored. It's going to be factored into the US price, and it's going to be a lot more than what they would be charging in Japan. Hey, thanks, Robo Lizard. Super chat. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that, man. I have 4 Anguirus figures that are going to be coming to me at the end of May. I've got 4 Godzilla 2004 figures coming to me mid-May. So it's going to be potentially quite expensive. If these tariffs are inactive, I have it set up so that these can go to a private warehouse. So I won't have to spend the money right away, but I'm hoping that there's going to be some resolution here. So, but thank you so much. I truly appreciate that, man. You are always a great help. I appreciate you. Thank you, Rebel Lizard. So, see if there's any other things to talk about when it comes to the tariff stuff that I've been wanting to tell everybody. So yeah, I mean, just remember there's 2 parts of the equation. You got duties and tariffs. Tariffs is if you order things from the United States retailers, and duties is going to be if you import yourself. Right now, duties are 120% or $100. There's no clarification of what gets charged which. You're just going to have to kind of wait and see how that goes. Hopefully that these de-escalation talks, they're going to be good, and we're going to get that down lower than 80%. It'd be great if we can get them down to 25%, right? But remember, this is de-escalation. It's not the big deal that they're working on. They're just working on de-escalation. So, and for the time being, no new Tamashii Nation product will be solicited. This includes the Godzilla 2000 figure from Megaguirus. Solicitation hasn't hit for that because of the situation that we're in right now. So it's just, we got to be patient. hopefully it'll work out. Any tips on how people could mitigate the tariff stuff if it gets a bit difficult? You know, the only way to mitigate it is just to not order it. That's just the best way to do it, because they're even implementing things where if you're shipping, so say you wanted to organize your shipment to go to Canada and then you wanted it to be imported from Canada to here, right? It doesn't matter, because in the declarations, customs and all that stuff, they open up the box and they're going to see if it's manufactured in China. It says it right there on the box, made in China, and they will assess the value of the figure and they will slap that 120 feet. I think that there's like a penalty that they're introducing. Don't quote me on that 100%, but I heard that there's a penalty now that's going out there saying if you're trying to circumvent the system by shipping it to a different country. I don't know how that would even work, but that's what I've heard is possibly happening. But there's not a whole lot you can do to mitigate that stuff, besides just waiting and seeing what's going to happen. I will tell you this, if you order stateside for things, say the tariff situation goes to 80% or whatever, you will probably pay less ordering domestically, because the retailer will probably share the cost of burden. Whereas if you import directly, you will be responsible for, 120% of that duty fee. So say you order from Big Bad Toy Store for this figure. They get the green light, this figure sent over, and there's an 80% tariff that's at the port. Big Bad Toy Store is going to probably charge the consumer 30% of that surcharge instead of that 80%. But we're just hypothesizing right now. We don't really know those numbers, and every retailer will approach this differently. Like I said, E-Night Media is doing it where they're not even charging anybody tariffs right now for any of their figures that are in stock, or for pre-orders for that matter. But regarding Tamashii Nation's figures, there's no pre-orders that are on schedule right now. They're all indefinitely on hold until the situation goes up further. Is Godzilla 2000 coming out in September? So here's the thing. The only figures that are scheduled to be on time at this moment are the figures that up to Dark Magician on the release schedule. Right now, anything after Gamera has the potential of being delayed. That being said, say if the tariff situation is figured out in 2 months' time and Godzilla 2000 is supposed to come out in September, it will likely still release in September because that month has not passed. It's still upcoming. Because here's the thing, the production of the figures hasn't halted. Remember that these figures are made in Japan first, the United States second. So all these orders are being created right now. And if the situation gets figured out by July or something like that, Godzilla 2000 will probably still be released in September. Solicitation will go up and all that other good stuff. Right now, what's currently being affected is potentially this Gamera figure and Anguirus and the Godzilla 2004 Final Wars figure. Those 3 releases are potentially going to be delayed because those release, this month for April for Gamera and then May for Anguirus and Godzilla 2004 reissue. They're not shipping anything out, and they're probably likely going to extend it through June. So those figures are probably going to be delayed by at least a month. 2 months for Gamera, 1 month for Anguirus and the Godzilla 2004 Final Wars figure. So we'll see how that works. Hopefully we'll be on time with that. Hopefully. Oh, I wanted to share with you too. I managed to snag a couple Kiryus this year. The first release and a Heavy Arms. Hey, major score, dude. Happy that you got those. My personal favorite between all those releases is the Heavy Arms Kiryu, so the 2003 version. That is a fantastic score. I hope you got them for a good deal. I know that Heavy Arms can get up into the 300s, and the first release, believe it or not, is actually not too bad. You can get that for $150 to $200, and then the what was that one? The re-release. I forget the name of the city. having to look it up. Hey, having my own website comes in handy sometimes, right? What am I looking for? Oh yeah, Kiryu. The 2000. So he was Shinagawa. That's what it was. Shinagawa version. Yeah, so that one's going around what, $200 to $250 these days. So all of them are really good pickups, honestly, if you can score any of them. I know people want another re-release of them. I think if they do a re-release, it will probably be of the Heavy Arms version, because we've already got 2 variants of the 2002 version. So the 2003, that one does need a re-release. Absolutely. Colin says, think we could ever get a Godzilla 2003 and a Heavy Arms re-release. So yeah, Heavy Arms, just remember that it is a, so the original Heavy Arms figure was a web exclusive figure. It cannot be directly reissued, but it can be re-released as a redeco. So it can be a Decisive Battle version, special color version. As long as it's not 1-to-1 with the original release, it can be reissued again through that means. And as far as Godzilla 2003 goes, we were hoping that was going to come out during the 2002 and 2003 anniversaries, but instead we got reissues of the 2002 figure. So I would say it's coming, but just not as soon as we hope. Maybe next year, maybe the year after that. We'll see if 2003 gets a release. We'll see what happens. I believe that's the only figure left. No, for the Millennium Era, the only 2 figures left to do is the 1999 Godzilla and the 2003. So I think we're going to see versions of that. Absolutely. Maybe within a year or 2. I'm just basing off of my own predictions. Nobody's told me anything. Thanks, peeps. Yeah, they were honestly both pretty decent. Surprisingly, I've been yes. So here's the thing. If you're looking for older figures, sometimes you can find really good deals on eBay. Somebody that doesn't know about the value or after value, or maybe they're just being nice and they just want to sell it. You can find a really good deal on these figures on eBay. It's rare, and it doesn't last long. As soon as they hit, there's people that got alerts for this stuff, and it goes really, really quick. But you can get these deals on eBay for a really good price. But if you can't find them on eBay, if we weren't in this tariff war right now, I would have suggested looking on Mandarake or Zen Market, because there's a lot of Japanese folks that do sell these figures for a little bit less for very superficial things, like a crease in the box devalues the box by like 40% or 20%. It's insane. And plus we have currency conversion advantage over that too. So you can get a Kiryu figure that's Heavy Arms for almost $190 to $250 shipped. Mandarake is it's good. Their shipping prices have skyrocketed though, so unless you're buying more than one figure from a store from them, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow if you try to ship from them, because I remember just looking up for a regular Godzilla figure, they were almost charging 70,000 yen or 7,000 yen for that, so I was just like, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. I know if you wanted to get the Mecha King Ghidorah figure right now, it's almost 200,000 yen to ship it. It's ridiculous. Yes. Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp. Be cautious about those places, everybody. There's a lot of scammers out there. I prefer, honestly, in-person meetings when I pick up these figures, so I tend to use OfferUp for things that I sell in person versus selling on Facebook, because every time I list anything on Facebook, I think I get hit up by more than a dozen scammers trying to scam me out of this stuff. They're not even interested in the figure in the first place. They just want my information. They want my shipping information so they can steal that. So you just need to be very careful. Always try to do meetup, in my opinion, when you're selling online, unless you know the person or they've got good references. And if you do any sales with PayPal, always stick with goods and services unless you know the individual and they're reputable. Then friends and family is okay. Yes, they are. They are very dope. Give us a version with the beams for the chest. Yeah, that would be, they did that for Shinagawa Kiryu. They gave us the absolute zero, so we could see a Mazer cannon. That would be pretty cool. LZE, will there be a 1998 Zilla figure? Listen, I have talked to these guys over at Tamashi so much about this, And they know that people in America really, really want this figure. They know it. They do know it. There is a stigma around that character still to this day in Japan. And, you know, I'll call it a win when we see this figure being added to their targeted list. At this time, it's not added to their list. It was added to the San Diego Comic-Con list, but it's not on the Tamashii Nation's list surveys that go up for the end of when product is released. It hasn't been put on those just yet, but it was on the Tamashii Nation's survey for SDCC last year. And it was, you know, I was talking to the head of Monster Arts R&D, and he knows that everybody here, there's a lot of vocal folks that want it, but you know, it's a risky character in Japan to do still. So that's all I can say on that figure right now. Maybe eventually. They said never say never. Yeah, going back to what I said about the $70, 77,000 shipping. Yeah, it's a lot. And if it was DHL, it's even more. That was EMS that I was referencing. DHL was like 9,000 to almost 100,000 or 10,000 yen. Yeah, it was ridiculous. Or yeah, it was ridiculous. Hey, Tamashii is doing US exclusive releases for Dragon Ball, so yeah. Dragon Ball is a different beast of its own, though. You know, I've asked them, you know, the differences in marketing. It's a different marketing team. They use the USA Premium Bandai shop for a lot of their exclusives too, whereas Monster Arts don't. Monster Arts, and you guys are gonna think this is wild, but Monster Arts, when I asked them, it's like, you know, how come Monster Arts don't end up on the US Premium Bandai shop? How come they're brought over as retail? And the answer I got was that the consumer for Monster Arts is very consistent compared to Dragon Ball. So, and I know that a lot of people out there say, well, the Dragon Ball fan base it has to be bigger than the Godzilla franchise fan base, right? But according to their sales numbers and everything and how that works, the Monster Arts consumer is much more consistent when it comes to retailer shelves and getting that in and getting that out. So I guess you could say that Godzilla is much more recognizable to the casual person than maybe Dragon Ball is. So the chances are, if a casual person walks into the store, they'll see Dragon Ball characters and Godzilla characters. The odds are that they're probably going to grab the Godzilla character more than the Dragon Ball character. So that's a little neat fact if you guys have ever wondered why that is the way it is and why we have it so good. RoboLizard, I think the MMS 98 Godzilla store deal was maybe testing the waters, see how much it could drive sales maybe. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of hard to tell. You know, there's an element of that, but at the same time, it's a different branch of business. Just because Movie Monsters makes it and X Plus makes it doesn't mean Tamashii Nations is going to make it. It also depends on the licensor. If the licensor wants to push that out. So yes, in a way, I agree with that. It is a way to test out the waters. But it's all an entirely different product, right? So just because a $20 figure sells very well doesn't mean if it hits Monster Arts and it's going to be priced at $120 or $100, if that's going to sell well, especially in Japan. I mean, it'll probably sell well here in the United States, but will it sell very well in Japan? So it is a good way of testing. I'd like to think that, hey, if, you know, a Super Godzilla in a bag and MMS figure sell like hotcakes, let's make a Monster Arts figure. But, you know, it's a different product. What figure would you ever like to see get retooled? I'd love to see more in scale 90 Godzilla 1964 at some point. That is definitely a figure worth getting retooled. That one and the 1974 Mechagodzilla, those could use a new 2.0 upscale because those figures are in scale with each other. They're much smaller in size. And recent Showa stuff that they've been doing has been the standard 6.5 or the 6-inch scale versus the lower 5.5-inch scale. So I would like to see those be reintroduced. But the figure I really want them to do the most, and this is just my personal, is the 1994 Godzilla. I would love them to redo that figure, do a 2.0 from the ground up, brand new paint apps, brand new articulation, the very first figure in the line, It's great. It's good for what it was. It started the ball rolling in the line, but man, is it dated compared to what they are doing today. So I would love for them to do that. And I know that they have also added that figure back onto the list of targeted monsters. They're wanting to see if people do want a 2.0 of that figure. So I think it's just a matter of time until we get that. Maybe not soon, but Heisei Godzilla, there always seems to be one on the market, and it always leaves very quickly, and it's going to be replaced with a new one. There's no current Heisei monsters. Well, I guess there is. The Burning Godzilla is on pre-order right now, but as soon as that one's done and over with, what's the next one going to be? They're going to have another Heisei on there, so we'll see what that next one's going to be after Burning Godzilla. Yeah. 84. I know what you mean. Yes. So, but 84 Godzilla, yes. That one, I'm really surprised, honestly, that it hasn't come out after all this time, because that is one that Sakai likes to do, is the 1984 Godzilla. But if they were going to do it now versus earlier, I'm glad that it's happening now because of all the advances in articulation by comparison. So, sign me up. Hopefully soon, maybe this year or the next year. Ah, yes. A 1994 with modern engineering and suit accurate sculpt would be amazing to see. Yes. Yeah. I don't think it was actually so bad with the details on that figure, honestly. Maybe the head and neck area could be improved, but as far as the proportions go, I didn't think it was bad. But I think if they were going to do it, I would like them to resculpt the figure for sure. I wouldn't want them to reuse it again. Godzilla Jr. adult version came in 2014 for the last year. Yeah, so that was that one also was reissued as well. Let me go look that up really quick. So yeah, that was released. It was originally released in 2014, and then it was reissued in 2015. And I actually prefer the reissue because it has less blue. I think I'm saying this right. I think I remember this right. It has less blue paint on it. The first one had like a blue shading effect on it, whereas the reissue got rid of that. So if you ever can find the reissue, you'd have to ask the seller directly, like, does it have 3 dots or 4 dots on its foot? That's the only way you can find out. But the reissue is a better paint deco than the original, in my opinion. All right, guys, we're gonna give it 5 more minutes, and then I'm gonna jump off here in soon. So, but I'm enjoying this. Keep those questions going. If they keep coming, maybe I'll stay on a little bit longer. I sold my 94 and still have the Comic-Con. Yeah. You know what? I don't know if anybody has this version, you guys should check it. But mine, you know, I purchased mine like I think 5 years after it was a release. I bought it from a comic book shop, and that plastic, that translucent plastic, had that plastic toy sticky feeling to it. So I don't know if all figures have that, or if it was just this figure that I own it. But it's definitely got that material, that plastic kind of oily, kind of tacky feeling to it. So if anybody else has that, let me know. Let me, if you have that figure, confirm if you got that or not. I like that. I've just kind of looked over and I saw that some of my lights have died. All my lights set up, they're all on battery power, so we can save on our electricity bills. And I see that some of them have already died on that Gamera figure right there. So we're gonna be wrapping it up here soon. I think I might have missed my window to get it for a decent price, but it is 1972 Gigan, a solid one to own. It looks beautiful in photos. Yes. Unfortunately, you did miss the window. It is sold out virtually everywhere. You might luck out finding it at a local comic store, like a brick and mortar store, and it probably will be marked up anyways. So if anybody's curious, you can always go to my website and you can look up any figure. And on the bio page, there's a cart icon next to those monsters, and you can click on them. And I usually have after sales like on eBay and Mercari and stuff, and they're already curated. So you just click of a button, you don't have to do much searching. So I'm going to do that for Gigan here really quick and see if you can get that at a place still. Let's see here. If we're going to go with US retailers, your choices are just Mercari, Amazon, and eBay. And don't import it right now. I'll put it that way. Do not import it because you'll spend a lot. So it looks like the best deal on eBay is $179 or best offer for Gigan. And it's currently not being sold on Mercari at this time. So check offer up to. You might maybe be able to find a deal, but that's the best deal on eBay right now for that. And you could probably get it for about that much shipped from Japan anyways, but you know, you have the duty fees that you'll get hit with, so don't bother importing. Ah, it is tacky. Okay. I mean, that's just one person confirming so far, but I had a feeling that because of the age of the toy, and the process that they were using to manufacture translucent plastic back then for these kind of figures, I figured that it's probably going to be that anybody that owns this figure, it's going to have that tacky feeling to it. Because I compared this to the 2019 figure that's completely translucent, and that figure doesn't have that issue after all this time. It's not tacky feeling or anything, so it's definitely a material that they chose to use. Got the 94 figure recently. It's fun. Also, the beam was only a tad oily, sticky at the outgassing on beam part. I don't know what that is. Maybe greasing. I'm not sure. Washing it helped. Okay. Yeah, I heard that if to get rid of that, you can use Dawn dish soap to get rid of that tacky feeling. I haven't tried it myself, honestly. If you do that, use distilled water. Don't use tap water because tap water's got minerals in there. It can cause discoloration. So if you ever do that, always use distilled water. Gamera deserves more attention, to be honest. Well, maybe. I mean, I can't really relate with that because I'm not a Gamera fan at the end of the day. I can appreciate Gamera for what it was and what it introduced, but yeah, Gamera could use a little bit more love. I think it gets a lot of love in Japan, just not maybe as much in the United States when it comes to sales. I know that when MonsterArts did the 95 Gamera figure, they chose not to bring it over to the United States. It wasn't a licensing issue. They just said that it was a business decision not to bring it over, and to not bring it over is a choice. You know, it's because of, and here's my theory. This is not official or anything, but the sales of the 1999 figure were not all that fantastic. And here's the thing: product always sells. Remember this with MonsterArts. It's about the speed and how it sells. If it sits around on shelves for a long time, that indicates whether it's a good selling product or not. And that 99 figure lasted, I think, more than 2 years on the shelves. And there was a lot of criticism about it on the internet based off of its face, the paint on the teeth and everything. And I think a lot of that also happened during the transition when Bandai was about to be bought out, or Bluefin was about to be bought out by Bandai. So they just decided, you know what, we're not bringing it over here to the United States. And they just let it be a web exclusive in Japan. So that's why not a lot of people here in the United States have that. You'd have to really figure out a way how to import it. It is a neat piece, though. If you do ever find it, you can get that, and it's a good piece. I'm changing the lights really quick so you guys can, see that again. So I'm not seeing your comments right now. Just give me 1 second. All right. There we go. That'll light up the scene a little bit more. All right. Gotcha. I'll have to take a look at the listing then. Appreciate it. Yeah, take a look at it. Just keep checking. You might find a good deal on Gigan eventually. It was reissued in Japan as a lottery sale, so there should be some influx of those sales hitting online over there soon. But like I said, just hold off on importing for now because of those tariffs. Just watch out for Gigan's fins. They are clear plastic underneath the paint and very snaps easily, sadly. Yeah, so, you know, Gigan's sails, they are not designed to pop off and on and off. So don't try to take them off, anybody out there. Don't try to take them off. They're not meant to be really swapped. They can, just don't, because they can break. There is a design in how they are articulated, though, where you have to pull up on the socket and then you're able to articulate them. A lot of people forget to pull up and they just start moving it, and that's where you get the breakage from. You're supposed to pull it up very gently and then you can move it after that. Just remember that. Pull up, then move. I can confirm that you will be seeing more Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is not dead. There will be another announcement soon for Monster Hunter, so stay tuned for that. There's going to be another one coming out soon for that. I don't know if it's going to be Wilds related, but there is more Monster Hunter. The line is doing very well. Daniel says, thanks for the heads up, RoboLizard. Yeah, just remember, if you own Gigan, it even says in instructions, which are on the tab. I think this is why people missed that with Gigan, because the manual wasn't its own piece of paper. It was on the tab of the box, and it was on the underside of it. So you wouldn't have seen it unless you opened it from the bottom of the box. But it says that you have to, you know, pull it out and then rotate it. Pull it out and then rotate. That's easy. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely more Monster Hunter on the way. I know Monster Hunter fans will be really happy with what's going to happen. And then also I heard that Haya is also doing Monster Hunter too. So you can get some even more affordable options out of there. Maybe they'll do opposite things that Tamashi's doing as well. So you can pad out your collection. They will be bigger, of course. Well, actually, we don't know that. They might be bigger. They might be 7-inch, 8-inch scale. We'll see what happens. I know that they can't do 6-inch though, because that's the Bandai has that scale. Is Godzilla Evolved cast entirely out of translucent plastic, or are the dorsal fins themselves the only items of the figure? Okay, so I believe that the figure is entirely casted out of translucent plastic. But it's so painted after the fact, you wouldn't be able to tell unless you stripped it down. But I believe it is translucent, because it doesn't make sense. I'll put it this way. If one part of the figure is translucent plastic, it costs more to combine different materials when you're making it, right? So if you combined a non-translucent plastic with a translucent piece, they're usually done separately and then assembled, right? So, but I believe that the figure is casted, it is casted in translucent plastic. Same thing with Shimo. Shimo is also casted in translucent plastic. Which is funny, because originally, when I was interviewing them and talking to them back in San Diego Comic-Con, they were telling me that it was not in translucent plastic, that it was just regular ABS. And I think that was lost in translation, because I was asking them about the figure that was on display, and they were telling me, I think what they were telling me was that the figure on display was not translucent, and that it was ABS plastic. But what I was really asking was, will it be translucent plastic in the end? And sure enough, it ended up being translucent. So everybody liked that. Let's see here. What franchise or series would you want Monster Arts to dip into, and character would you like to see? Oh boy. I mean, I'd like for them to go back to Alien and Predator again. I think that we need to give them another chance, and like, I really want an articulated Romulus figure. I know NECA did a pretty good figure of that, but I would love to see Tamashi's step at that, because the Alien Warrior figure they did is phenomenal. It's great. It's a great piece, and I can see that one would also be good. Yeah, I would like to see Alien and Predator. If I had to go outside of that, maybe Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park would be... the thing about Jurassic Park is it's behind so much legal tape. Like Hasbro had it, now Mattel's got it. So, and we don't really know how that goes, like how well Mattel how much control Mattel has over that. You know, do they have complete control, a little bit of control? Does that mean that other countries can make it or not? So it's just, we don't know those details about licensing, but if you don't see these products from these companies like Bandai and stuff, it's probably because there's a restriction when it comes to licensing that prevent it from being released. So I'm just moving that around. Yeah, the Alien Warrior figure is definitely, it's a figure that's slept on. A lot of people that ever had it always said good things about it. There was a couple things like the die-cast tail tip. The die-cast tail tip was an interesting choice. It was neat to have, but it also kind of made the articulation for the tail not hold its pose because it's so thin. Yeah, Big Chap. Big Chap is what killed the Alien and Predator line in sales. And it wasn't here in America. It was in Japan. Just nobody was jumping on it. So, and it was not that great of a figure compared to the prototype. I have the prototype, the original prototype, and as a prototype, it's not that great when it comes to articulation, but it looked a lot better. Yeah, you know what? When I was talking to them back in the day, when they were doing Alien Predator, I was asking about Queen, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're looking into that." and then you know, they pulled out of the line. So, but you know, they can always come back. There was a post I made about a couple months ago saying, you know, hey, Alien's been added back to the list, and that was back when Romulus was being released. So we could see them come back. It just depends on how cooperative Disney is at this point. Disney owns it now, so I know Disney is only wanting to push recent product from the recent stuff. They're not wanting to do a lot of focus on back catalog. Jurassic Park is a dream. Yes, it is. It is a dream. But who knows when we'll get that? Who knows? All right. I'm afraid we're going to be winding down. You guys kept me an extra 20 minutes right there. I was more than happy to do it. I love talking about stuff. I loved it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you for joining the stream. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hit the record button on this right here so I can have this. So that is going to wrap it up for our figure showcase of the 1996 Gamera Sendai Decisive Battle figure. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the stream today. I will be reposting this stream as an abridged version, just focusing on the details, and you guys can watch that after the fact. If anybody has the link, it will be unlisted for this stream. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining me for this and checking that figure out. Hope you guys will be able to pick it up eventually. It probably will not be released on time. It's scheduled supposed to be the end of May, but I highly doubt that it's going to be released based off of the current standing with tariffs and stuff. So just be patient on that. If you ordered it from Japan and it hasn't shipped yet, maybe ask about doing a what they call is like a private box or a warehouse storage kind of box situation. I know Hobby Genki has that option. So does Ninden Game. Inquire with those guys. Hobby Link, Hobby Japan. Well, you know, HLJ doesn't have it anyways because it's a Bandai premium figure. So if you ordered from Ninden Game or if you ordered from Hobby Genki, you can reach out to them and ask them to put it into storage, because if it ships now, there's a very good chance that you're going to get hit with a 120% duty fee on your figure. So thank you so much. Thanks, guys, again, Daniel and Colin and RoboLizard. You guys are awesome. Thank you for sticking out throughout the entire stream today. I really appreciate it. So it's always fun to share my love of the figures with anybody else that's interested in them. So thank you so much. And until next time, we'll see you later.